Yo, what up? This is Dark, and here's a Mythic Plus guide for the Theater of Pain. When making these guides, I'm hoping to help people who are getting into Mythic Plus, as well as anyone who's still struggling with the mechanics. So when you're in that pug environment, you can be an asset to the party instead of being the reason you fail the keys. And for anyone interested in trying out tanking and understanding the routing, here's a basic route of what I do when I'm just pugging. Like and subscribe if this helped you at all. So starting off in the first area before the first boss, you want to pull the big dudes separate from the three littler dudes. We were trying some cheeky strat here, it didn't work, so we did the big dude first. This guy will just do a tantrum that does AoE damage. If you have a soothe, you can actually de-enrage him, and he won't really do anything. But for the other dudes over there, the buff dudes will do some charge abilities and they'll enrage, so you can soothe those guys as well. And the caster will do necrotic bolts, and you can just kick those bad boys. Alright, for the first boss here, the trio. So you want to kill these guys at the same exact time if you're able to, or close enough to it, because when one dies, the other ones get 10% stronger and they get more energy to do their ultimate ability. So starting off with the Decapitator lady, she'll have a Mortal Strike, so tanks, make sure you're popping CDs when you're not able to heal yourself as well because of that Mortal Strike. And when she gets to 100 energy, she'll do this slam attack that just does AoE damage to everybody. For the caster person here, the dude, he'll cast necrotic bolts and some withering dot crap. You could kick both these, and the dot you could dispel as the healer. And then at full energy, he'll be casting little green circles on players. You just don't want to stand on top of each other while you have these green AoE circles on top of you. And then for the third dude, the poison guy, he'll spawn mushrooms everywhere. It's going to leave green crap on the ground, so make sure you're leaving yourself enough room in the boss arena to fight these guys and you don't overfill it too much. And then he'll also do this plague spray at full energy, where he'll just do a huge brown frontal thing, so don't stand in that frontal so you don't get blasted. And then, like I said, just kill them at the same time if you're able to and move on. Alright, after you kill the first boss, you'll be portaled down underneath, and now you can decide to go to the 3 different wings. Here we'll be starting at the Plague wing. So the Plague dudes over here, you have the Disease Horror, and he'll be casting like Meat Shield and some other disease crap that you could kick and dispel. There'll be a bunch of little non-elite dudes that are like jumping beans, and they're gonna jump all over to random players doing damage. When they die, they explode and do a crap ton of plague damage within 4 yards of their death, so just make sure you're not standing on top of a bunch of these dudes if you're killing them all at the same time, otherwise you will nuke yourself into the ground. And then you got these big butcher dudes that don't really do much, they just heal themselves for the damage they deal to the tank with their main ability, so I mean just mitigate it like you're probably going to be doing anyways, so you're not getting beat up by everyone else. And you got like the big sludge spewer dudes. We're going to also jump at people, but doing decaying filth and some other discharge stuff that's kickable. And it's a disease, so it's dispellable if you have disease cleansing abilities in your group. But yeah, just make sure you're controlling these ads as much best you can and kicking what you can. And I mean, should have enough kicks to kick everything and burn them down. And let's move on to the next area. Alright, once you cleared this hallway and you're moving up through like the spiral little hallway areas right here, and there's 2 big guys on each side or 1 on each side. You can actually skip these guys, you don't need them for percent, but if you want to pull them or you have to pull them because your route's all weird or something like that, these guys basically just like poop and throw up at the same time. They do frontals from their butt cheeks and their front, so just make sure you're not standing on those frontals if you're dealing with these guys. And on to the last hallway before the boss in this wing, you just basically have more of the same guys. You got more of the butchers, you got more of the little dudes, and you got this other gas bag guy that will do Vile Eruption and have a disease cloud around him. He's basically just going to put crap on the ground everywhere, so make sure you're just not standing in that stuff. And you're just going to be taking AoE damage while you're pulling him, as well as all the little dudes that jump out of the little sides. Alright, so for the boss in this area, Gorechop, he doesn't have that many abilities, but he has an annoying ass arena because it's super small and it's kind of hard to see everything. So for this guy, he'll have meat hooks that drop down from the walls, and there'll always be a gap within these hooks, followed by some more meat hooks, so you want to always get to those gaps of the meat hook wall so you don't get hooked and stunned and dragged across the arena taking damage and getting stunned. And then at the same time, he'll be spawning ads. It's always 2 ads. Tanks, you want to pick these guys up as soon as you can because they'll just aggro onto random players. Get these guys, burn them down, cleave them down as fast as you can while you're burning the boss at the same time. And then he'll do Tenderizing Smash, which is a big AoE around the boss. It will do a crap ton of damage and knock players back, so just make sure you're not standing in that AoE circle around the boss when he's casting this. And also for tanks, he does Hateful Strike, which is a heavy hitting physical ability. So make sure you're popping mitigation as needed, because that stuff hurts. Alright, moving on to the Gladiator wing arena area of this place. So you got some guys that just have some crossbows, which are pretty basic, and some conscript guys that just do melee damage, whatever. The main thing here are the big dudes that are fighting each other. Whoever wins out of their fight is the one you'll be fighting. And if you get the Brutalizer guy, he'll do some AoE swirlies, he'll smash the ground, there'll be some brown circles around, just dodge those. But for tanks, he does, what is it, Savage Fury. That will do a crap ton of damage, and you want to make sure you have mitigation pop for that, otherwise you will be taking a lot of freaking damage, even with mitigation. And then for the other guy, the Mangler, if he's the one who wins, he'll have a Whirlwind ability. You just get away from the circle when he's doing his Whirlwind cast. He'll have Colossal Smash, just like Warriors have. And then he'll have Whirling Blades as well, where he'll, blades will appear and they're just going to like spin around. Just make sure you're not standing in those blades, and they'll move towards players as well. And then he has, Interrupting Roar, which will interrupt cast while you're casting, so make sure you're not casting while he's doing this, and it does damage to all players around him as well. And then the next one will be the Bloodthirsty person, who they will do a Bloodthirsty charge to players, as well as Ricocheting Blade, and you want to LOS this blade if you're able to, otherwise it's going to put a heavy dot on you and do a crap ton of damage to that player with the dot. And then if the Breaker guy wins, he'll be doing some of the same abilities. He has Colossal Smash, Whirlwind, the Interrupting Roar, and then he also has Ground Smash, which is a AoE that will do damage and stun all players in the area. And then for the patrolling pat that's in this area, they're going to have an Ancient Captain with them. You want to burn this guy down first, because he buffs his allies by a crap ton. He also has Demoralizing Shout, which reduces damage that you guys do, but that's kickable, so make sure you're kicking it. Then he also has Shield Bash that will interrupt your cast if any of your casters are close by him, so make sure you're not casting next to this guy. And then for the last guys that are fighting each other, there's Wreck the Harden, who does Whirlwind. He has Swift Strikes, which increases his attack speed, and then Unbalancing Blow, which reduces dodge, parry, and block chance when you cast that on the tank, so make sure you're popping mitigation if you need it for this dude. And then you also got the Nevermorn dude, who has the Colossal Smash, Seismic Stomp, and Ricocheting Blade, so make sure you're LOSing the blade. Alright, so for the boss in this wing, Xav the Unfallen, when he gets to 100 energy, he's going to do Blood and Glory, where he's going to grab the 2 DPS players, throw them down to the bottom pit. You two have to fight each other and won't come back until someone wins. For this, the best strat is obviously let someone win the fight as soon as possible. Whoever has the higher DPS, burn the dude down, so you guys can come back up and help your teammates with the actual mechanics like this banner right here. This banner will slow you down by 15%, so you want to kill this as fast as you can, because if you get a lot of banners up there, you won't be able to move, and his other mechanics will kill you, because he has the massive cleave that's going to take up half the arena, and you'll have to move out of that big old pizza slice. And then he has a line attack, which is kind of hard to see, that will slam down and one-shot people if they get slammed by that. And he has a huge AoE circle that's around him that you just want to get out of the circle and not get blasted by that bad boy. And then for tanks, you'll have Brutal Combo, where you're just going to do a combo, like 3 attacks at you that do heavy physical damage, so pop mitigation for that. And yeah, the main gimmick here is go down, duel each other, get back up as quick as you can, and kill those banners so you can actually move and dodge all the slam attacks that he has. Alright, going to the last wing we're going to discuss here. It's going to be where all the altars are. At the beginning of this place, there's going to be a hallway with a bunch of Shackle Souls. Tanks, you want to try to get all the aggro from these guys, because they're going to be doing a channel ability. If you're not getting aggro, they're going to start shooting all the DPS and slowing them down and killing them. What I do here is get aggro, pull them all to the end of the hallway to the next room where the big soul guy is, where the exit of the door is right there. And you could get all those guys gathered up so you can LOS them. They just run to you guys, burn them all down. You can actually pull the Soulstorm guy up there with you as well, the Portal Guardian guy, and just burn them all down together. Get the orb from the Guardian, and for this I usually put the orb to the right side first, and then the second orb I do to the left side. And if you go to the right side here, you'll go to the tower with the Bone Magnuses. There'll be a couple of them. They will cast Bone Spear. Do not let this cast get off. If it gets off, your team will be killed. And they'll also have Bone Shield. You can dispel this if you're able to. If not, you just burn through it. But yeah, Bone Spear is the humongous cast in this area that you want to kick. Otherwise, people will start getting one-shot. And as you're going through this area, you're going to get to another Soul Guardian guy, so you'll kill him. There'll be Soulbinder guys that will cast Necrotic Bolt and Necrotic Bolt Volley. You definitely want to prioritize the Volley kick, but, you know, there'll also be Magnuses there doing Bone Spear, so Bone Spear, and then the Volley, and then anything else if you got kicks left over. And once you kill the second Soul Guardian, I choose to go left with his orb on this one, and you'll fight 2 Tornado Dark Speaker guys. These guys literally have a curse they can put on you. They have Spear Frost, which is a kickable thing, and then they have their main ability, Death Winds. This is what everyone needs to dodge, otherwise you will get knocked back and most likely pull trash or get knocked off of the platforms, dying and whatnot. It's a huge, obvious tornado cast circle ability thing that will shoot straight from where they're casting it, so make sure you're not standing in front of these guys when they're doing their Death Winds attack. And the last altar before the actual boss, you'll be up there with the Bone Magnus, the little Soulbinder guy doing the volley, and one of the Deathwind Tornado dudes on one of these small altar platforms. So yeah, just make sure you're not getting knocked off and you're kicking the Bone Spears and the volleys. Alright, so the boss in this area, Kul'tharok, or whatever the hell his name is. He's the Magnus Lich dude. They kind of changed him up from his mechanics from Shadowlands. So here he'll do Death Spiral, where he'll spawn 3 different balls that will rotate around the room. One's close to him, like right on him. One's in like the middle of the arena. One's on the outside, so they just constantly spin around the arena. So dodge those. He'll also cast Well of Darkness on a couple players, where those players will have AoE circles on them doing necrotic damage for like 4 seconds. Just don't stand on those players. Get away from other people. Good stuff. He'll spam Necrotic Bolt. Kick that when you're able to. And he'll also do a Necrotic Eruption, which is on the tank. And it's going to be a frontal line attack. So don't stand behind the tank when he's casting this, so you don't get hit by the huge shadow damage coming out with it. And then for his main mechanic here, he will do Draw Soul, which everyone's going to have a green arrow on top of their head indicating that your soul is about to, you know, come out, which this just means stack up on each other against the wall in the back of the arena, have all your souls spawn at the same area, AoE these souls down, kill them all, and then go back to the boss and rinse and repeat and do all those mechanics all over again. Basically, just don't let those souls get to the boss and you'll be good to go. Alright, once you're done with all the bosses, you can finally go back up to the starting area where you fought the first bosses, and that's where you're going to fight the final boss, the Empress Lady Snake person. So when you pull her, she'll have Dark Devastation, which is a big beam attack that she'll cast, and she'll start spinning around, so just make sure you're not in front of that beam. She'll do a Rift that will suck the players into the Rift, and at the same time she'll have Manifest Death casted on players, which is a green AoE circle around everyone, so make sure you're spread enough from each other but not too far away, because once this expires it's going to spawn ads and you want to AoE those ads down and, you know, gather them up as best you can. And for tanks, she'll be doing Reaping Scythe, which does heavy physical and necrotic damage, so magic and physical damage, so make sure you're ready for those heavy hits with that. And then when you get her down to 50%, you want to Lust and burn her down, and now she'll start spawning what is it, the Echoes of Carnage cast, and it's going to be dudes fighting each other. You don't want to stand on top of these dudes, otherwise you'll take a crap ton of shadow damage. And then she'll do the Ghostly Charge, where there's going to be bowls that are charging through the arena, so make sure you're standing in the area where you're not going to get charged and knocked back and take heavy damage. And during the second phase, or the second half of the fight, she'll still be doing, you know, the beam attack where she'll Dark Devastation and spin around the arena and all that stuff. And the one where she has the Rift and all that stuff will be going on at the same time with all these new ghost attacks as well. And then you just, you know, handle all that stuff and you kick her ass. And that's it for her. You just keep going until you burn her down.
Victory, you will unclasp.